Hi there, my name is Aaron Short and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Wednesday, January the 20th. We're right in the middle of the virtual NAMM show and it's been a really great week so far. The guests this week have been awesome. And today I'm really happy because as you can see behind me, I have a Maton guitar and I've played Maton guitars on stage for many years now and they're a really nice company. They've been very supportive. I've had several of the employees on the show to discuss the guitars. It's been really awesome over the last 12 months. And today I'm really happy because today I'm joined with Joe Robinson. He has a new signature model guitar out. He's also a fantastic guitarist, singer, and songwriter. And we get to ask him about this new guitar today, as well as guitar in general. So if you've joined us in the chat, thank you so much. Please do ask any questions or give us some comments as we go. And if they're relevant to the chat, I will present them to Joe. So without further ado, please welcome Joe Robinson. How you doing, Joe?
G'day, Aaron. I'm well, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, you're not in Australia, right? Where are you calling in from?
I'm coming from Nashville.
Nashville, Tennessee. I love the Summer NAMM show as well. I love going down to Nashville in the summer. It's awesome. It's a great place. Great place.
Yeah,
Wow.
it gets pretty hot in the summer, but then the Nashville NAMM show is a lot smaller and easier to navigate than Winter NAMM for sure.
Yeah, it's nice. So chat, everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. I want to get straight into this today, get the most information that we can. So can we start with some background? How did you first get involved with Maton Guitars? What's the background story there?
Well, I had always dreamed of playing Maton guitars. My father has an old Maton guitar that was kind of the guitar, that was the best guitar in the house, the one we were only allowed to play with his supervision. And and my first guitar teacher played a Maton. So in Australia, they're definitely the preeminent guitar that you see everywhere. And I heard Tommy and Phil Emmanuel play when I was about 11 years old at the Tamworth Country Music Festival, which is a big music festival in Australia. And I didn't have a steel string guitar at the time. And Phil Emmanuel actually said, "Here, Joe, here's my red Maton. You can play that for, as long as you need to." And he loaned me that guitar. And so I was playing all this Jerry Reed and Chet Atkins fingerstyle guitar on it. And soon after got a EBG 808 TE, which is the Tommy Emmanuel model. And that was it for me. I mean, I feel like Maton really gave me the tools to get onto any stage and have a big, punchy, powerful sound and make an impact and get people's attention. So these guitars are a big part of my sound and my story, my journey.
Yeah, the Maton guitars, obviously in Australia, are really famous. And I feel like I'm in the States now, I'm in New York City, and I feel like they're really big here as well. Obviously, Tommy Emmanuel plays them and yourself. And they've become really big here now. But people talk about them a lot on the Acoustic Guitar Forum and how great they sound plugged in. Even on the live stream, sometimes I'll plug one in and it just sounds good, even direct with that microphone. It's a great pickup system, isn't it? Now, what about recording? Do you also record with your Maton guitars or do you have other guitars as well?
Yeah, I do all my recording with my Matons. And I live in Nashville. I do a lot of sessions. And, a lot of session musicians will pull out old Gibsons and old Martins. And those guitars have a sound and have a vibe, but I really love the way my Maton records, and a number of producer and engineers really love it as well. It has a very mid-focused sound, so it sits nicely in the mix. It's a there's not too much low end, and with certain guitars that have too many resonant frequencies, it can just be too complicated to sit in the mix. But Matons really record well in my experience, um, and the pickup is absolutely spectacular. But when I'm recording, I just put a mic, between the 12th and 14th fret, sometimes, and get a really great sound.
Now, do you record the pickup as well when you track guitars or just microphone?
It depends. If I'm tracking with a band, for example, oftentimes I'm playing and singing. So in order to give the band more guitar without turning my voice up as well, we'll take the pickup, which is a useful little trick.
Yeah.
So if the drum trying to play along to me, and he just, is just hearing too much vocal through the mix, and you want to give him more guitar. The pickup's really useful, and we've blended the pickup in during mixing a couple of times, but I'm usually of the mindset of I don't want to hear the pickup on a CD, so I don't record with it. For the, I love the way Maiden's sound with a great mic, especially a nice tube microphone or something.
Yeah, obviously the construction and the woods are important as well. So the one behind me, this is the Nashville. Nashville, there you go. So that's Blackwood, back and sides, and a Sitka top. And can we just go? I'm going to jump over to the website and show the specs of your model. Can you tell us? I'm interested to know, like, when a company like Maiden approaches you and says to you, "We want to make a artist model." Like, what do you do? Because isn't it like being a kid in a candy store? Like, oh, I can build any guitar that I want. I can have any features I want. I mean, is it easy to go crazy, or did you know from the beginning, like, well, I know what I want. I know what I like. I want this. How was that process working with the team to design the signature model?
Well, we already knew because I've been playing this kind of guitar for about 8 or 9 years now, I guess. I'll pick up this other one I have here.
Sure, yeah, thank you.
This was made by Andy Allen in the custom shop.
Oh, great.
And I had another one before this one, but this kind of has been my main one since 2011. And it has the same wood, Tasmanian myrtle, back and sides, which is a unique tone wood. So I've been playing this guitar with these specs for a long time, and it's become, a big part of, my sound. And the specific fret wire in this guitar is a unique fret wire that Joe Glazer, who's the premier guitar luthier in Nashville, he turned me onto this wire. It's a specific size. And so we basically incorporated these features into the signature model guitar. And I'm really in love with the one I have here. And I think it just turned out so well. I think it really fits Maiden's lineup nicely. And I encourage people to go to their Maiden dealer and play the different models if you can, and hear the differences between, like you said, the Blackwood, the Queensland Maple, which is the kind of Tommy Emmanuel's models, as well as a lot of their other models, and my guitar is the only one with Tasmanian myrtle. So that's how we kind of established the specs of the guitar, and yeah, it's really, it turned out better than I could have imagined.
So as a guitar geek and fan, I have to ask you then, how does your custom shop version compare to this version here? Are there any major differences, or are they basically the same? Just one was made by Andy. Like, what are the actual differences in the two?
Yeah, well, they're essentially the same. I mean, it's the same ingredients, but no two guitars are the same.
Right.
And that one is quite a bit older. This one has a this series, the JR Signature, has a really light finish. So this guitar will darken up and look, I think, more like the other one over time. And sonically, this one, it almost sounds a little sweeter. The other one has a little bit of a more intense mid-range. We're just running off the phone, Mike, so I'm not sure you'll hear it if I demonstrate it. But I'm going to do a video soon where I really compare the different Maidens I have here, so cool. People can hear the sounds. But honestly, this guitar sounds incredible, and it's been my go-to instrument since I got it, which was at last year's NAMM show. So I've had this guitar a year now, a little under a year.
Yeah, I'm going to jump over to the website. If anyone's interested, if you go on the Maiden website, all the specs are here. It does look great. And I had a quick look before we went live, and something here really made me excited that I really, really want. Can you guess what it is? Stainless steel frets. I was like, wow, that's so awesome. You've got stainless steel frets on this model, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good thing because my other guitar, the frets are worn down and they need to be changed.
Yeah.
But
How
these ones,
some people ask me a lot like what's about stainless steel frets? Obviously they last longer. How do you find the feel and do you think they affect the tone of the guitars?
um, I'm I don't think that they make a huge difference. I mean they do feel a little bit different, but I think the main thing for me is they last a long time.
Yeah, I think that's great because once your frets start to wear down, it's kind of annoying to think you've got to have it refretted and stuff like that. So stainless steel frets. I think this is the only model that has it aside from the Tommy Emmanuel. One of those has it, right? Otherwise, there's no stainless steel frets on the Maitons. So that's a
Um,
really cool point with your guitar here. I love that.
yeah, and that's the thing I always say when people are looking for an acoustic guitar. Find an instrument that you connect with and you like, and make sure it's set up well.
Mm.
And with Maiden guitars, I've spent a lot of time on the road with these different guitars, and literally flying from like the summer heat in Australia where there's bushfires around to winter in Nashville or winter in Canada where it's very cold, and the guitars really hold up well. They're very stable, just consistent instruments. And once you get the setup right, they're a great instrument for a lot of years. So
Mm.
um, yeah, the frets will last, and yeah, I think that's a great feature.
Yeah, I think that's really, really cool. I was going to ask you about strings and things. I see the guitar ships with Elixir. So are they the strings that you use yourself, or is that just something they install for when they're in the stores? And BMO also has a question: what string brand and gauge do you use?
Yeah, I believe all Maiden guitars ship with elixirs, which I think is a good choice because when they're in stores and they're sitting on a wall, it's nice to have a string like an elixir that lasts a long time. I used to endorse elixir strings, but I just moved more towards a more traditional string, and I've been really happy with that. It's something that if you get used to elixir strings, they can be really a nice sound, especially the 80/20 bronze. But I now play Ernie Ball strings,
Mm.
and I really love their Paradigm strings, and they actually last a long time and have a beautiful voice. So those are the strings I use, and the gauge. I use a unique gauge. So right now I have a 16 on top and a 54 on the bottom. So I use a set of 12s, so a light gauge set of strings, but I like a heavier high E. And the high E can range from 13 to 16 depending on, just what I decide to put on it. But I'm kind of experimenting at the moment, and it's quite cold here, so the neck's a little straighter than when it's humid and and warm. So I'm enjoying playing with a 16 at the moment. It
The
sounds
reason
good.
the reason I don't look surprised, forgive me, is because I was listening to an interview with you the other day, and I heard you say that. And when I heard that, I was like, wow! I text my friend to tell him. I text my friend Maury. I was like, Joe Robinson uses a B string as a high E string.
Yeah.
So I have to try that. I mean, there are times when people talk about like pickups having a weak high E string, things like not Maton, but I mean other brands having a weak high E string, things like that. Or my high E sounds a bit thin, so they go up a whole gauge to 13s. But I guess
Mhm.
this is an interesting solution. So you just have a thicker E string and leave the rest as the light gauge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you just use a 13 or 14 on top, it's really quite a balanced sound. You go to a 16 and it becomes, that's a you know, it's a bit of a different beast. But I started doing it because I played on a TV show in Australia with a great classical guitarist named Slava Gregorian, and we played. Slava's a classical maestro, and so we were going to play on TV. We were just going to use mics, and I was playing. We were playing Chick Corea Spain on this television show, and I was like, okay, I really need just a little more gusto on the high E. And there are a few jazz guitarists that use a heavier high E. So
Hmm.
I tried it and I never looked back. And I've been doing that for 7 or 8 years. I would say.
That's something I really, really, really want to check that out. You look
Yeah.
out for a video coming soon where I put a B string on my A string. I
Yeah,
think
try a 14. Try a 14 or a 13. I
I,
think I think you got to kind of work your way up to it. It's pretty intense. And the other thing,
yeah.
the guitar has to be set up well, has to have a good
Okay.
fret dressing. And this guitar has, I want to talk about these frets for a minute, but having larger frets really helps as well. Um, so these frets are a little taller than a Gibson fret, but wider than a Martin fret. So they're kind of that real sweet spot. And Joe Glazer knows as much about guitars as anyone I've ever met. He's certainly one of the authorities. And here in Nashville, he's a legend, and he custom ordered this wire from Russia originally in this specific gauge because he thought that this was just it was a void in the fret wire options available. And I talked Maton into sourcing this particular fret wire for this guitar, and it's perfect. It really is great. So when folks have a chance to try the guitar, I think they'll see what I mean.
I'm not to downplay the rest of the guitar, but I'm really excited to try the frets on that guitar. It's awesome. I was corrected by Rick. Sorry, he says the new Maton 75th anniversary has stainless as well. I see a lot of companies this year moving into stainless steel frets. I think customers must want it as well. I'm seeing it coming from Fender now on some of their new models this year, and obviously the new Martin guitars they're using the Evo gold fret wire. So it seems more companies are starting to use the stainless steel and the Evo frets. So that's cool. I think that's a good thing.
That's an interesting trend. I wonder where that came from. I wonder who really made that popular.
Yeah, I'd like. Yeah, it's fascinating. Now, I think I just had a thought though. I might be wrong. I think I met you the first time I met you a few years ago was at a Tommy camp, Tommy Emmanuel camp, and it was also one of really great event. And I think you're on stage. I think you said you used a 13 on your high E. So have you? Is that like you said? You've worked your way up. You're getting heavier and heavier on the high E string over the years.
Not necessarily. In fact, I was recently just using a 13. When I first started doing it, I was using a 14 for a while. To be honest, it depends on what I can get.
Right.
Because the single strings, I'll just buy them, whenever I can find them. But I was trying to buy 14s recently online, and I couldn't find any. But yeah, anything from a 13 to a 16. It depends on the guitar too. This guitar can handle it. Sounds good with 16.
Yeah. Our mutual friend Jerome says, was there a defining feature of the JR Signature model that you championed for and set it apart from other guitars?
Yeah, well, the real defining feature, aside from the frets, is the tone wood. This is Tasmanian Myrtle. As you can see, I got a little bit of buckle rash on there at the moment. Tasmanian Myrtle, it's a unique tone wood. It has a very particular voice, and I didn't want to get too far away from Maton's 808 body size, which I love, Maton's great feeling necks, which I love. It's just all the ingredients of a Maton, just with this unique tone wood, which is the main difference, these frets. And the rosewood fingerboard, I love the way rosewood sounds. Ebony can sound a little bit brighter, and rosewood has a warmth to it that I love. And I think Maton are making better and better guitars. I think they keep improving their quality, and it's really impressive because they've been making great instruments for a long time.
I'd like to bring something up because when I first discovered Maton guitars, I was living in London, and there was this thing then, and there still is now on forums, that they sound great plugged in and don't sound great unplugged. And I disagree, especially with the guitars I've played the last few years. And you mentioned the same thing. You said you record with your Maton, right? And yeah. Rick Bates says the same thing. Says Maton is underrated acoustic sound. Joe's recording sounds perfect and warm. Joe is great, and Maton too. Thanks, Rick. But yeah, I think that's something I want to get across today. I think I see that a lot in forums, and I think people should, obviously when they can safely go to a store, should go out and play them as an acoustic guitar as well as something that you plug in, right? And obviously you agree because you record with yours, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, to me they have a dry, warm, organic sound. And I mean, there are certainly instruments that have, 10,000 overtones and just this, you know, overtone city type thing going on.
Mm.
But I mean, if you listen to, I mean, an old Gibson, for example, is a dry, warm, organic sound,
Mm.
very much like a Maiden, although Maiden has its own personality. And I think they really cooperate well in the studio for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's easy to say just because the pickup is, I think the best on the market. It's easy to say that that's, you know, the main asset. But I would say um, they sound great. They're so much fun to play. Like I just want to sit around and play it all day. That to me is
Mm.
what means it's a great guitar. It's not just a guitar that I play and say, oh, that's nice, and then I put it down. It's like I really I feel like they're fun instruments, and it's inspiring to see so many players all over the world who have Maidens and play them daily. They're a workhorse instrument. The build quality is spectacular, and they really hold up on the road very very well. And the pickup is like no other. And I've said this before, but whenever I see a young person who buys a Maiden as like their first real guitar, I know that that instrument has the power to change their life because they can go onto a stage, plug into a DI, and get a big,
Mm.
powerful, commanding sound. It's
Mm.
pretty hard not to with a Maiden, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
um,
Sometimes I
but
feel they sound too big. Sometimes it's that like this is like a punch in the face, It's like a huge sound. So that's
yeah,
a good thing. That's a good thing.
yeah, and I mean you can dial that in with the pickup for sure. You
Mm.
have a lot of control with the pickup, but with a lot of instruments, with your typical acoustic guitar, brands, you plug into a PA and you'll get this kind of papery thin, sound that to me is I. It's honestly shocking to me when I go to a show, especially in a big stadium or an arena, and I'll listen to major artists
Mm.
playing a guitar and the pickup sounds absolutely like trash.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean it's for that reason alone, it's no surprise that people are catching on to Maidens all over the world because they really are a great workhorse on the stage.
We sometimes laugh because we talk about I talk about pickups, acoustic guitar pickups, and amplification a lot on my YouTube channel, and we sometimes laugh because like John Mayer, I'm a huge John Mayer fan, and he's such a geek about guitars and amps and all, and he's been using Kempers and all these things, and then you hear him at a concert, he's just got his Fishman plug straight into the PA system, and it's like, why doesn't he use like impulse responses or a Maton or something like that? What? Why is that? I guess I mean, a sound is a sound. I'm not going to knock any sound. It's all personal preference. It's all subjective. But sometimes you do wonder those things, and I totally agree. I'm not a big fan of the quacky undersaddle pickup. Along those lines, though, how into technology are you? Someone said, do you use impulse responses on acoustic? Like, are you into the kind of technology stuff at all, or do you just are you more of an analog kind of guy?
I have a tube compressor here called an LA2A,
Yeah. Oh
and the reason
wow, that's nice.
is it has two knobs. That's it. I, I'm very much a simple person. I have this mic here. It's a C12. I just like great sounding equipment that I can rely on. I actually am not a fan of Kempers, and I've bought a few amps recently off people who sold their blackface Fender tube amps to buy a Kemper, and I'm just like, are you out of your mind? I mean, I get it if you live in an apartment and you can't turn up an amp, but I have a little Fender Champ back there that I record with, a blackface Champ, and to me, you just can't get that same response from the modeling technology. But I get it. And for certain people, if you play more of a fusion type thing, where it's the guitar is not really it's sounding like, you know, a different kind of instrument, they can be cool. But for me, no, I'm into technology in a lot of ways, but um, I like to have as much control of the instrument with my hands as possible.
Mm.
So what I'm looking for is the mic and the compressor and the amp, whatever I'm playing through, to react to my playing in a very natural way, and just bring out all the nuance and allow me to really lean into the tone I'm going for. So I hope that answers your question. And
No, it
I do
does.
have
It
a comment
does.
on the John Mayer thing when you get a chance, when you get a
Yeah. Oh,
second.
please, please. Do you know the answer? Please
What
tell
was that?
me. I said, do you know the answer to the question? Because I'd like to know the reason.
Well, I don't know the reason, but I was at John's show in, I think it was Philadelphia or somewhere, and I was there with my fiance, and we were watching, and he picked up an acoustic guitar, and she said, "Oh wow," she said, "Why doesn't that sound like your guitar? It sounds like crap." So she picked it up without me and, you know, saying anything. So I mean, I'm not dissing John. He's amazing, and you know, um, I just think these guitars are really outstanding. And when you do get to play through a huge PA, I mean, there's nothing quite like it. And anyone who's heard Tommy Emmanuel live has heard that huge sound from, you know, all the way down to 20 hertz, all the way up, you know, just a big full range, you know, sound that you really can't get from another pickup, I think.
Joe, I think the problem for me is that I'm also a fan of Martin guitars as well for the history and all that stuff, right? And the problem is they don't have an AP5 pickup. So I think
Yeah.
for some people, they're looking for ways to make their pickup sound more like an AP5 Pro. So if you don't play Maton guitars, then that's a challenge you have to address. If you play Maton guitars, of course, that you don't really have that problem because they sound so huge and big anyway. So that's obviously, it brings you back full circle to what I said earlier. So that's a great thing about the guitars. But with the digital stuff, I know exactly what you're saying. I talk about it on the channel. I get excited when the new gear comes out. But I'm the same as you. Like having a guitar with a system built in that sounds powerful and big, or plugging straight into an amp is just a different experience to using the digital stuff. The digital stuff has its place for recording and silent playing with in-ears, stuff like that. But the analog stuff is really cool, and yeah, having a real amp in the room with you is a great experience, isn't it? All right,
Yeah,
totally agree.
I mean, what could you imagine Jimi Hendrix playing through a Kemper? I mean, would he have had any impact at all if he got on stage and plugged into a, you know, amp modeler? I don't.
It's a good point. But then, what about if Jimi Hendrix was here now and live streaming with the? I don't know. I mean, technology moves on, doesn't it? It is what
It'll
it is.
sound like playing through a Kemper, I would think, um, but but I do think they're functional, and they have a purpose. But yeah, no, I'm definitely a touch player,
Mm,
and I love a real amp.
yeah.
I love a real instrument,
Mm,
and I also love Martin guitars and think that they make a really great quality instrument. And I think, you know, in the history of musical instruments, there'll be classic sounds of, you know, the old pre-war Gibsons, the Martins, and there are, you know, a handful of other brands that I think will make instruments that'll stand the test of time. And I think Maton are one of those brands. And I think another really big difference to me is the way the necks feel on Maton guitars. And you know, there are a lot of guitar brands that have good feeling necks, but to
mm,
me, I just never feel at home on a Martin neck.
mm,
It just feels as 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 like home, like a Maiden does. Like I
mm,
want to just play it for hours and hours and hours and hours.
mm.
So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I think people need to try the guitars, and I think, like I said earlier, I think sometimes people have preconceived ideas or they compare different guitars without thinking about what the guitar, giving the guitar a fresh outlook. And I think people should go out and try them because I absolutely love mine. And our mutual friend is here, Rob Olson. Hi, Rob. Great to see you. Says thanks for doing
Rob.
this. Yeah, how you doing? Have a good day, and thanks for doing this. And hi, Joe. And yeah, I really want to try this guitar. It looks awesome. So just so everyone knows, I didn't ask Joe to play today. I really wanted to, but we're just going through the phone, and I don't think it'll do the sound justice. The thing is, though, just to wrap this up, Joe has a YouTube channel, so go and subscribe over there. He's going to have, he's got demos of himself playing the guitar. He'll have more coming as well. And you also do teaching, don't you, Joe? Because a few weeks ago, someone said they want to learn some fingerstyle. So I can't think of anyone better to recommend than yourself. And also to tie in with that, someone just said, "Oh, Thomas Moore, how you doing, Thomas? I just joined Joe's 12 and love it." That's Joe's online course. Great job with it, Joe. You're teaching me how to focus and practice, and you are so organized with it. Can you just tell everyone who's watching about your courses that you have online?
Thanks for asking, Aaron. Yeah, Joe's 12 is a course that I created. It took about a year and a half actually to make it, and it's a program. I really wanted to give people a window into the mentor-student role, and I've had some incredible mentors that have really taught me so much, and so with Joe's 12, you'll hear every week is a 12-week course, and every week is a different topic. So for example, the first week is practicing. So I talk about my practice routines. I currently wake up at 4 a.m. to practice. I'm I have my routines, and I use a practice journal, and I'm very particular about what I do to work on technique, and I share all that in the course. But I also talk to my mentors. I talk to Steve Vai about his practice routines. Talk to Eric Johnson, Tommy Emmanuel, Robin Ford, John Jorgensen, Keb Mo. It's really a list of incredible people that I was fortunate to speak with. I also spoke with Andy Allen from the Maton Custom Shop and Joe Glazer. We have a week where we talk about gear and equipment and pedals and amps and guitars. And it was fun to sit with Andy to talk with him about his, philosophy behind building the Custom Shop Maton guitars. But it's a course I'm really proud of, and it's actually 50% off for another 2 days or so. We've been running a holiday special. So joes12.com is where you can sign up for that, and I highly, highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for a shot of inspiration. And thanks, Thomas. I'm really glad you're enjoying the course, mate.
So on the course, you talk about gear as well. It's not just fingerstyle and playing; it's also the gear that you use as well.
Yeah, I mean it's as broad as we could go. I mean, we talk about practicing, songwriting, arranging. I talk with Rodney Crowell, Grammy Award-winning songwriter, Gary Nicholson, Grammy Award-winning songwriter, Brent Mayer, Grammy Award-winning songwriter. I talk with Robin Ford about collaboration. We talk about gear. We talk about your why. Why we play music, and why Tommy Emmanuel feels so compelled to spread this music, the music of fingerstyle guitar, and the music of a great melody and a great chord progression and a great song. So it's really a holistic approach to music, which is anything else. And for fingerstyle guitar, I have a TrueFire channel where I have about 200 tutorial videos. It's called Guitar Synergy. And you can you can tune in and watch me play, songs like Windy and Warm and Freight Train and Baby's Coming Home and Jiffy Jam and a lot of those standards, as well as a lot of my original songs where I'm teaching. And now I have a split cam set up where you see the fretboard on the bottom, and then you see the right hand up here, and then you see the whole shot up here. So it's really cool having time at home at the moment to create a lot of content for the channel. So check out Joe's 12 as well as the TrueFire channel.
I just put a link in the chat, joes12.com. I'll also put a link below with your websites and things too. And I'm going to check it out because I really, really, really want to learn. And I'm waiting for someone to make a tutorial on this. Blue Moon with the walking bass. Do you have that on there?
It was. I need to learn.
I love that. That's awesome. Is that on your course or?
It's not. That's one of Tommy's arrangements.
Ah,
And Tommy has a True Fight channel too, so
okay.
I don't want to teach his arrangements on my channel.
I don't
But
think he does it. I'm waiting for someone like you to do that. If you could add it to your list, please, I'd appreciate it. I'm just kidding. I'll watch that video back and just slow it down. Thank you. I slow it down a
well,
lot.
I used to have kind of a hybrid arrangement that was inspired by Joe Passa's version because he has a gorgeous version too with some great chord changes. But Tommy's has the walking bass, motion. That was like the first walking bass song I learned. I tried to figure it out by listening to his, you know, recording, and I figured it out totally wrong. And when I got the chance to sit with him, pretty much the first time I was really sitting playing for him, I was probably 13 or 14, and he showed me how to play it properly. And it really influenced my style because I love finding a bass line to combine with a nice melody. I think that's such a great sound, and yeah, just counterpoint on the guitar in general, melodies going up and melodies going down, played together.
I know there's no thumb pick. Do you use a thumb pick or you just alternate?
I do use the thumb pick.
Okay. I always ask people that, like, can you play fingerstyle in that style without a thumb pick? What do you think?
Yeah, you can, and there are some people who have a really nice feel with it, and for some things it sounds a little nicer playing without a pick. Just a little warmer, the flesh of the thumb. For example, I'm actually putting out a video tomorrow, a cover of "Yesterday" by the Beatles, and I played it without a thumb pick. But if I'm playing a show or on stage and I want the guitar to, go to the back of the room, then a thumb pick gives me a little more power and it helps the bass have the articulation.
All right, I'm going to wrap up. I've got a question from Carlos, but please, like, Joe's going live all the time, so you can go and hang out with him, ask him questions, sign up for his course, and interact with him on his social media. This has been really great, Joe. This is, for me, the highlight of all the 2020 stuff. Like you said, you've had time to work on your courses and your videos, and I've had time to do the same and to talk with people like yourself and to interact with people in the chat. It's just been awesome. So that's a plus of what's happened. But I look forward to seeing you in person again in the future at a real concert as well.
Well, thanks, Aaron, and thanks for all the great content you're putting out on your channel. Doing equipment reviews and really going into the nuts and bolts that we're all interested in. So it's been a pleasure to chat with you, and thanks for having me.
It's fun to talk about the gear, but it's also someone said you're inspiring. It's inspiring to watch someone that's just playing with such passion and technique, and that's ultimately, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? To play the music, and it's great to have you on to remind us of that. So thank you so much. It's been awesome. So I'm going to say bye, everyone in the chat. Thanks for watching. Please share this with your friends if you think they might be interested, and do subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for more content. I've got 2 guests on tomorrow. I've got Martin Guitars and I've got Rainsong Guitars, and Friday is Yamaha. So come and hang out with me. It'll be fun. Thanks for joining us. Thank you to Joe. Really appreciate your time, Joe. Be well, and I'll see you in the future sometime, okay?
Sounds good, Aaron. Take care,
Thank you.
mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.